Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, Maseches CHULLIN Daf Peiches. We begin at the 2 dots, which is 10 lines off the top of the Yamid. So how much of the blood has to be covered? So we had 2 shittis yesterday, mentioned back in the Mishnah. According to one opinion, all the blood that you can access, everything, scrape it back in, cover it. According to Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah, there's no need to do that. As long as you cover some blood, a sampling of the blood, that's enough. And actually, in Gemara now we're going to have a third opinion. Here goes. Damanitas v'shalasakin, some of the blood splattered away, or you find blood on the knife itself. So you have to go and scrape it off and cover it. Tanu Rabban, we have a brayse. V'chisahu, you have to cover it all. Malamed, we learn shadamanitas, even the blood that splatters away, v'shalasakin, or on the knife. Chayv l'chases, it all must be covered. When do you have to go scrape off the knife? If that's the only blood you find, but if you have blood other than that, there's no need, don't bother. You're exempt from covering that. Just cover what you have in front of you, as long as you have some coverage. Tani, here comes another brayse, which presents yet a third opinion on this matter. Indicating that it all has to be covered. All the blood has to be covered. So based on this we learn, dam hanita is the blood that spritched away, blood on the wall of the neck of the animal. You have to all bring it in and cover it. Amar Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, he says no. When do we say that? If he hadn't addressed the life force, the blood which contains the life force of the animal, which is the initial spurt. But if he knows that he covered the dama nefesh, that's the primary blood. That represents the life force of the animal, and once he does that, patam l'chazis, he's exempt from covering everything else. So as Rashi summarizes it for us, we have 3 shittas. Chacham say, cover it all. According to Rabbi Yehuda, even just a little bit is enough. According to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, you have to cover the dam hanefesh. But what's the machlekes based on? What are the positions sourced in? It's all about how to translate the word in the pasuk, where it says v'shafach es damai v'chisahu be'afar. Rabban Sabri, they learn damai means its entire blood supply, called damai, everything you can find. It's all covered. Rabbi Yehuda Savar, no, dami means even a little sampling of that blood. Afilu mixas dami. Third shita, Rabbi Shimon Savar, he says dami means it's blood, it's primary blood, it's unique blood. Dami hamiyuchad, which is the dama nefesh. Now, what do you cover with? Pasuk says afar. Afar is soil, earth. As we're going to see, it isn't limited to earth. Any material which is similar, shares similar characteristics with afar, and as we're going to define it in the Gemara, something which you can grow in, right? That characterizes afar, right? The earth grows, it's matzmiach. So anything that has that ability is counted in. Bameh mechasin ubameh mechasin. Sounds like what do you cover with? What don't you cover with? Mechasin bezevel hadak. You can cover using menorah, as long as it's thin, not clumpy, and Ubuchel hadak. Likewise, thin sand. Ubesid, lime, bacharsis, crushed clay, little granules of clay. Ubele vena, a brick that was crushed. Ubemegufo, or a barrel lid that was crushed, a kashchan which he crushed. These qualify as afar. But you can't use clumps of, pieces of menorah, nor clumps of sand, or a brick, a barrel cover which has not been crushed. Nor, you can't just take a kli, and cover the blood and say, oh, it's covered, it's shielded. No, it has to be enmeshed, absorbed in this fibrous, granularly material, sand or whatever. That's a different type of coverage. It can't just be out of sight and shielded. It must be misarev and nivla, as Rashi says on Medbeis. A different type of coverage. It's like burying it, right? Klal Omar Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. He gives us a formula to work with. A type of material which can be used to grow things in. It's close enough to offer, it can be used for kisi adam, but otherwise not. But otherwise, if it doesn't have that ability, it cannot be used for coverage. How would you define thin sand? I mean, it's all relative, is it? What about if it's slightly clumped? I mean, if it's really clumped, I know not. If it's just running sand, fine. But what if it's slightly, how big is the clump to be a problem? I'll give you the system. The yotzer, the potter, sees no need to crush it. He just uses it as is in his making of pottery. And it's called chol hadak. They would crush it, using equipment and bang it down and make it really nice and fine. He doesn't have to do that, so it's okay for kisi adam. Now some had this version, a little different version. They had this formula applied to the next part of the Mishnah, to the other side of the equation. The Mishnah says, you may use chol hadak, thin sand, but you may not use clumpy sand. According to this version, the rule was applied, this definition was relating to the second part of the Mishnah. You can't use clumpy stuff. What's considered clumpy? On this we have Amar Rabba, Bar Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yechanan. Kol shayetzer tzarich lekatshoi. How to define thick and clumpy? One which the potter has to go ahead and crush. Now, it seems like both versions are basically saying the same thing. You have to crush it, it's unacceptable, otherwise it's acceptable. Might be not any difference between both versions? Yeah, there's a slight difference. It needs a very light crushing. Not like a heavy crush with equipment, just a little with your hands. The difference will be like this. The tzarech it needs, but it doesn't really need. It doesn't need a heavy, proper crushing, but you have to sort of disintegrate it with your hands. The mifrach ifruchi, it just crumbles in your hands. So Rashi explains like this. If we go with the second version, which was kol shayetzer tzarech lekatshoi, if it needs to be crushed in any manner, it's a problem. And this would cover this too, because it needs to be crushed somewhat. So it wouldn't qualify. Unlike the first version, kol she'ein hayotzer tzarech lekatshoi, if it does not require the standard crushing procedure, then it's okay. And this slightly clumped sand doesn't either require a proper crushing procedure using the equipment, so then it qualifies as chol hadak and can be used for kisi. Tanu Rabbanon. Okay, again on this list of acceptable items, we have a brayso v'chisahu. He meant to cover the blood with what? Yachol yichasana b'avana, perhaps use stones to cover. Or overturn a kli on it. Just get it out of the way, shield it, protect them. No be'afar, has to be in afar. Okay, so maybe afar only, maybe soil only, and nothing else. Ve'enli ela afar. Menayin l'rabbis. What about zebel hadak? Right? Thin menorah, v'chol hadak, thin sand, v'shchikas abanim, crushed stones, v'shchikas charasis, crushed clay, v'noris pishtan daka, thin, fibers combed out of the flax during the processing. Turn time and base, and nesayres, you have dust, shalcharashin of the carpenters, daka, thin sawdust, v'sid, lime, v'charasis, crushed clay, crushed lavana, some say white clay, crushed, and mugufish akacham, crushed barrel lids, tamaleimar, v'chisahu. Rashi explains, if the Torah would require just soil, it would say uba afar, with soil, the you should cover it. The reverse order of the words, instead of afar, with soil, the should be covered, it says v'chisahu, you should cover it be'afar, which gives that expansive impression. You can use other materials as well, as long as they are similar, as long as they match the characteristic of the afar. We're not done yet. Okay, so here we have an expansive connotation. Okay, so perhaps take it all the way. Yachol, perhaps, based on this insight, Shani mar ba'af zevel hagas. I'll include even large clumps of menorah, v'chol hagas, shchikas klei matches, or pulverized, ground up metal utensils which cannot be used for growing, plants. Ulavena, a brick, a barrel lid that was not crushed. Flour, the chaff of the flour, mursan, the skin of the kernels. What about these materials? The pasuk does say be'afar. You need to conform somewhat. You need to be similar somewhat to the afar. Okay, so we're including some and excluding others. Who's to say which one is in, which one is out? How do you set the criteria? Who's to say to include the aforementioned list, to exclude the recently mentioned list? Says the Gemara like this. Once we find the Torah is looking to include, to expand, umiyat, and also to exclude something. I have to draw a line somewhere. Marbani, I will include those materials, Marbani as elo shehin min afar, which are similar enough to the afar. Umoitziani as elo shehin min afar, as opposed to excluding the ones that are not similar to the afar. How do you decide? How do you determine? Well, just like afar is megadol tzmachim, can be used for growing plants, as Rashi points out. So likewise, all those items mentioned before have that same ability. The Chachamim knew. Rashi says, Kimlu l'Rabbanan, by way of maybe Ruach HaKodesh, they knew that it's Megadol Tzmachim, and and that's why they're close enough to Afar and can be used accordingly. Says the Gemara, hold it, before we let you go. Who says that anything other than Afar is okay? First we have the Chisahu, cover it. Sounds like cover it with anything, but then Torah specifies be'afar. That's a klal and a prat. It's a generalization covered, followed by a very specific defining term. So maybe it's limited to afar only. Ema v'chiso, maybe v'chiso is a klal, a general term. Then comes afar, which is a prat, a very defining term. So you have a klal uprat. What do you do with a klal uprat? You leave it right there. Ema klal mashu uprat. You can only apply the klal to the prat. The prat is a definition. It defines the klal. In which case we should say, afar in, yeah, you can use soil, but nothing else. Midi yachrin aloi. So how do you allow yourself to include all the other materials, which are similar to the afar? Who says that's enough? Maybe afar and afar only. Amar of Mari. I'll tell you, this is not your classic kaloprat. Let me explain, says Ramari. You see, Rashi explains, the term bechisa, covering, can cover two types of coverages. Two categories of covering. A simple form of covering is just to cover something, to shield it, to protect it, to hide it, to conceal it, right? Then there's a different type of covering. You take a thin, material like sand, soil, dust, ashes, right? And you mix it with the blood, it gets absorbed. It gets buried in there, right? Totally different type of coverage. But davar hanis'arev, says Rashi, v'nivla boy, kigon afar v'kiyetzi boy. So the Torah has to define for us what is the definition of v'chisa. So ba'afar is more of a descriptive type of term than a defining, limiting term. It's not like the Torah is telling us only use afar. Rather, v'chiso ba'afar is telling you what type of coverage. It could be like sort of an external cover, or an internal, burying type of cover. V'chiso ba'afar. You need to use thin material, which actually mixes with the material and sort of gets absorbed and buried in there. But what type of material? I'm not getting into that. As long as it's similar to afar, it's okay. This general term of a chisa requires further definition. It needs the prat to come and explain what category we're talking about, what type of coverage. So that's the purpose of the klal prat. That's the purpose of this sequence. The offer is merely defining for us, describing for us what type of coverage, but not coming to limit it, to restrict it to offer only, to which type of material. No, anything which is similar to offer is okay as well. Whenever it's a klal which requires that further, elaboration of the prat, it's not regarded as a klal prat. So there goes that question. And again, the fact that the Torah sequenced it this way, instead of ba'afar yichasena, which would indicate only afar, says v'chisal ba'afar, we learn any material which is megadol tzmachim, similar to afar, can be used for kisiyata. Darash Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda. Once again, ein machasim el b'davar shezorin bo yimatzmiach. Which material is suitable for kisi adam, something which you can, plant in it and it would grow. So, on the face of the surface, it would seem like he's just merely repeating that earlier formula. But Rashi adds, no, it's a whole new twist here. L'muti eretz malecha. He says practically it has to have the ability to produce, to grow, as opposed to a salty, acidic soil. So it's soil, but it's acidic. It can't grow. It can't produce. It doesn't qualify. It's a big chiddush. Amar Rava wasn't very happy with this. He says, "Hi burcha, this is an empty, meaningless statement. I disagree." Amalei Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, hold it, not so quick. He told Rava, "My burcha say, what's the emptiness? What's the worthlessness?" I actually told him this halacha, and it was based on a brisa. I have a source, a solid source that has to have the practical ability to produce and to grow from. It was based on the following brisa, which speaks about a fellow traveling in the desert where the soil is arid and not able to cultivate and to grow. A for offer, they change it to he has no proper soil. L'chasa is to use for kisi adam. So right off the bat, you see there has to be the type of material which practically can produce, can grow. That's my right. In any case, back to the story. The fellow's in the desert. He needs to do kisi adam. So he finds some change in his pocket. Sheichek dinar zahav. He takes his gold coin, grinds it up. A mitzvah is worth money. A machas, and he covers his blood. Interestingly, that the powdered gold is considered the offer. We'll see that it's based on a pasuk, even though practically it can't be matzmiach. Rashi's Tosfos says it's not metal. Granules cannot be used for growing. But here we have a special pasuk which labels it as offer, so it can be used for kisi adam, as though it's offer. Another example of a fellow in a predicament, Hayimalach Besfina, is on a ship, without soil, serve talisa, machas, he takes his Armani suit and he burns it up and uses the ashes. Mitzvah. Bishleim serve talisa machas. So the second halacha, I understand, ashes are considered like offer, even though once again, this type of ash cannot be used for growing, but ashkechon efer, the kri offer, we find that ashes are labeled as offer. Where? Rashi says, paraduma. Lokach says, afar streifas achatas. After they burn the paraduma, we add ashes, and the Torah calls it afar with an ayin. So once again, the Torah gives it a label of afar, so it's kosher for kisi adam. Eladina zav minal. Where do we find an indication that powdered gold qualifies? Amar of Zera, it's a pasuk in Iyoiv va'afreis. Afar, zahav loy. So it's labeled as afar. Tan Rabbam. Ein mechasnal ba'afar. According to Beis Shammai, you can't use ashes, only afar. Did Beis Shammai? Beis Shammai, what's in your efash? Nikusha kari afar. Even ashes work, because we find that the Torah classifies them as afar. Shenamar v'lachul atamim afar shrevet achatas. It's ashes, and the Torah calls it afar. No, Beis Shammai, they respond, afar shreifa ikri. It's not given the name afar, it's afar shreifa, afar shreifa. Okay, it's more like a descriptive term of the material after burning. Afar shreifa. So connected with shreifa, it's called afar, but it's not the afar of the Torah, of kisi adam. Afar shreifa ikri, afar stam, plain afar ikri, it's not called afar. It doesn't have that label. And it cannot be used for kisi adam. Tana, we learn in the brisa, I see for lane. The later Chacham added some more materials to the permissible list. Hashichar, which is crushed hashachar, crushed coal, like a choil, some sort of material they use for eye paint, nikras pisulin. The granules which are cleaned out of the crevices inside the millstone, And the Farshim say these aren't necessarily the crushed stones that we spoke about before, because that's already covered. We're talking about perhaps a little bigger granules. Okay, in any case, that's okay for kisi adam. Some add another ingredient, afazarnich, some sort of material used for making of red paint. That also works for kisi adam. Amar Rava, b'schar she'amar Avram Avinu, v'anoich ava be'efer. Because of our forefather Avram Avinu, who expresses himself with such humility to Hashem, I'm just dust and ashes. I have no value on my own. I'm all just your servant, Hashem, right? Because of that expression, which relates to these materials of dust and ashes, we, his descendants, merited two great mitzvahs which involve these materials. His children were zoichet two mitzvahs, which is Efer of the Parah Aduma, which is ashes, and the Afar, the soil of the Saita. So the woman was in trouble with her husband, so they give it to drink this, this holy water, and they insert a little soil from the Beis HaMikdash. These two mitzvahs we got as a reward of his expression of extreme humility. Says the Gemara, "V'lichshav nami afar kisi adam." Oh, back on topic. What about the afar of kisi adam? That's also a mitzvah that relates to afar. Big difference, says the Gemara. Hasamechsha mitzvah ika hanalek. You see, in contrast to the Efer Paraduma, aside from the fact that it's a mitzvah, of course, you have immediate, tangible benefit in this world. You're freed of your tumah, which otherwise would just linger on. The same thing with the offer of the Saita. Rashi says, "Matal shalom ben ish le'ishtoi v'niksam nizer zora," restores the harmony and peace at home, grants her with healthy children going forward, right? So there's tangible benefit in this world, as opposed to this hano, as opposed to kisi adam, although it's a mitzvah, but it's called hechsher mitzvah, which means to say, it's it's a fulfillment of the mitzvah, but tangible. Even if you don't do kisi adam, you can still eat the meat. So it's lacking in that sort of tangible, physical mitzvah, element, hana of the physical hana element of the mitzvah. In which case, we stick with those two examples, Efer Parah and Afar Saita, which provide that as well, and that is the schar from Avinu. Okay, we'll continue on this topic by this tomorrow. So, what can be used for kisi adam? End of the day, we compare things to Afar, just like Afar is matzmiach. Likewise, anything which is matzmiach, which has that ability, is qualifying. According to the next sheet in the Gemara, has to be a practical matzmiach, as opposed to eretz malecha. If it's acidic and it doesn't have that ability, so it doesn't qualify. We have two exceptions, which is the grounded gold coin and the ashes of the beged, which although they're not matzmiach, but they're labeled as offer as per the sourcings in the psuk. All the best to you, and it's lachara.